Hello, my friend, and welcome to Season 8 of the Enneagram and Marriage podcast. I am thrilled that we get to talk to Enneagram Master Teacher Russ Hudson today about the 3 instincts clarified. This is my favorite topic on the Enneagram, and it turns out Russ says this is the topic that is most important for marriage. We are so honored to have him because whether you know it or not, Russ has had so much to do with the modern Enneagram. He has worked with people all over the map, literally and figuratively, on the Enneagram, and he has developed the Enneagram Institute as a co-founder. You've probably taken the Ready test there or compatibility measures there, seen the levels of differentiation and development. You've probably read his book that he co-authored with the late Don Richard Riso, Personality Types, and he also has courses and other books for us as well. So you've definitely benefited from his work, even if you've never gotten a chance to really hear a conversation with him. And I know the word that's going to come to you is delight as you get to know him today, because not only is he gifted with the cerebral 5 nature and wisdom, but he's done his work. So you're going to see him so expansive today, coming into joy, coming into healthy risk, and coming into what we all love and need, which is exploration in this new year, this new terrain. So I know you're going to learn something today, and I am confident that you are going to put it into use as well. I also want to give you the opportunity to do that with Russ himself because he is teaching a master class starting February 18th. You can use the code marriage100 to get a $100 discount on it. So make sure you do that because he is accepting students. It is going to be a live course teaching with him across the internet. And I just love that with all this experience, he's doing this course himself. So that touches me. That just probably touches you as well, even hearing, wow, this is a 5 who is spending time generously with people. And so grateful, so glad, so happy he's here with us. All of that is in the show notes. I hope you're starting off your year well, or whenever you're listening, you are in for such a treat. Drink up this episode, this time with him. I know I certainly did and will continue to do. Let's talk to Russ now. Russ, we are so thrilled to have you on the Enneagram and Marriage podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Christa. It's wonderful to be here with you.
Oh, I'm so glad. And even just getting on your caring nature and your desire to know, even me as the host is so kind. And I just know our listeners, if they haven't already met you on the page or in a course, they're going to just love you today. So we're just geeked out. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself? I know we'll just scratch the surface, but we would love to hear about you because you're such a beautifully pioneering person in the Enneagram world.
Well, thank you. Let's see the Reader's Digest version,
Yeah.
as we used to say.
Yeah.
I live in New York City. I've been here for many, many years. Went to university here, and I just a person who was interested in human potential, consciousness, those sort of things. I started exploring that stuff back in the 1970s, and it was really a time where a lot of that was going on. Uh, but after trying this and that, I got really interested in the teachings of George Gurdjieff, who was the guy who brought the Enneagram symbol to the
Mhm.
modern world. And after, searching around a bit, I found a legitimate, real Gurdjieff school, and I did that for years. But
Mm.
as people may know or may not know, the that original teaching wasn't about the typology. That came
Mm.
later,
Mm.
but it was a grounding in presence, awareness, self-awareness, self-observation,
Mm.
the centers, all this kind of deep background in the Enneagram was what I learned first. And then I encountered the typology that was presented by Oscar Ichazo. And I met in the 1980s the man who became my writing partner, Don Richard Riso, who
Mhm.
had worked some 12 years on his first book, Personality Types, which is really the book that
Yeah.
blew the field open back in the 1980s. About a year later, Helen Palmer put out her first book. And
Mhm.
those two really, there were other books that came out, but they were the first two that I think really got the public's attention.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
I read Don's book and I was fascinated. It was different than what I'd learned in the Gurdjieff work, but
Mm.
I really thought there was something to this. And then I discovered that he lived less than a mile away from me.
Wow.
And
Oh my
so
goodness.
we arranged to meet and we started talking. And I wanted to know about his theories of the Enneagram, and he shared those with me.
Mhm,
And he wanted to know about the Gurdjieff work since I'd been in that for quite a while. And I got laid off from a job,
mhm.
and I was looking around for another job. And I mentioned this to him in just a friendly conversation. And then he called me back and said, "Well, why don't you come work with me?"
Mm,
And, it was the money wasn't as good as some of the other things I was being offered. However, he was offering flexible hours, and it
mm.
was just interesting. I thought, wouldn't this be great to go to a workplace where I really am interested in what we're doing? So,
Yeah.
so I started working as his assistant, and then he realized my knowledge and background and everything. I was also good at teaching, which I didn't know.
Hmm.
And,
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a background in music. I used to be a
Mm.
musician and played guitar and played in bands and uh,
Oh.
all of that. So I had some experience being in front of people, but it's rather different, you with a nice guitar in your hands between you and the
Yeah.
audience and being, just so nakedly sharing something, which was a journey for me. My
Mm.
dominant Enneagram point is 5, a
Yeah.
4 wing.
Hmm.
Um, the dominant instinct has been debated by many. What it's not self-pres.
Okay, they
But
know
it
this. Okay.
but it sort of has
Oh,
fluctuated between the
uh,
social and sexual and so forth. And we're going to talk about all that. But
yes.
anyway, and then I started working with Dawn and it became a career. I didn't expect
Mm.
that. But a lot of the things that end up being important in life I think are often things we didn't plan or expect. You just have to be awake enough to notice when, doors open for us.
Mm. Yeah,
And
that's
this feels right. And then you go, right?
yeah.
Relationships too.
Yes, exactly. You have to be awake to see what is really healthy. And I've heard you talk about that in terms of intelligence centers as well. Just if
Yes.
you're awake to your head, your heart, your body, you're so much more likely to make good decisions. So it's neat
Yes.
how you were learning this piece of the work. And then when Don Richard Risso's work came in, it gave you the personality piece. And then once you had all that, it sounds like you were just like, wow, this is so fascinating. And I've even heard you say you still have things to learn after all these years. That is
Yeah,
beautiful.
absolutely. I don't think it's pretty inexhaustible.
Mhm,
I've been working with Don. I started working with him in 1991.
mm,
So
mhm,
it's been quite a journey since then. And you find your orientation to it. I mean, it
mhm,
wasn't always easy. One of the problems with the Enneagram, people find a kind of entry into it and they think they've entered into the totality of what it is. And that isn't to discount what they found. There just could be more to it than what they see. In the early days, Don and I sort of got it from both sides. Where there were Gurdjieff people who thought this personality stuff was just rubbish and we should wasting our time.
mm,
And
yeah.
I've convinced some of them that that might not be the case.
Yeah.
And there's some good people there and some people who are very
Right.
scared.
Mm,
Then the other side of it, there were people in the personality side who thought this was all gobbledygook, this deeper part of it. But
yeah.
I think over time, more and more and more people have realized that, the Enneagram is a marvelous map, but then you have to kind of get in the car, so to speak, and go somewhere.
Mm,
You can't just read
mm,
the map and expect
yes.
anything amazing to happen.
Yeah. Oh my
So
gosh.
we have to live with it. We have to play with it. We have to
Mm, mhm.
see what it reveals in us.
Yeah. And I love how you're saying, but don't throw away the map. Don't throw away the
No.
deeper journey. If you're out here listening, maybe this is even your first Enneagram podcast and you're starting out the year with us, you're letting people know there's a lot to learn. So,
Yes.
oh, I'm so glad. And we're going to talk about just one big piece of the Enneagram today, which is my favorite piece, and I believe your favorite piece. I learned a lot of it from you and many others who have taken this side of it with us. And that's another side altogether, and that's our Enneagram instincts. Can you
Mhm.
tell us about just even how you got involved in instincts work briefly? And then for those who are new to this topic, what those are?
Well, the instincts are called subtypes by a lot of folks.
Hmm.
And I encountered them from a couple of places. They're part of the Gurdjieff work.
Mm,
although they're just used for personal development and to work on yourself, to self-observe. They aren't necessarily seen as a type. Um,
mhm,
and then there was the work of Claudia Naranjo, who
mhm,
worked a lot with them and came up with suggested names for the combinations of Enneagram type and instinct.
mm,
And
mhm.
I think in the early days too, when I first was into it, Don Richard Riso was not particularly interested initially, changed
Mhm.
his mind later.
Yeah.
But my ally and that I was talking about this stuff
Yeah.
with was Catherine Chernick, who many
Mm.
of you may know her
Yes.
work. And the two of us were sort of exploring it, talking about it in the early days. But
Mhm.
basically, the thing is about the instincts, it's sometimes people get carried away and only looking at the 27 combinations. There are three instinctual drives, we might say, that the Enneagram describes, and there are
Mhm.
nine Enneagram types. So if
Mhm.
you put together all the combos, you got 27 combinations. And that
Mhm.
is a piece of the puzzle. But from my point of view, it's very helpful to treat the instincts almost independently to
Yes.
see how they operate in us. I think this is good advice in general for the Enneagram, but particularly with the instincts. Is the question I want to ask is not which one of these am I, because you're not one instinct. That's a little
Mhm.
silly.
Right.
Uh, but what is my relationship with each of these? Sometimes we overemphasize them. Sometimes they
Mhm.
work just fine. Sometimes we neglect them or don't really give them much time or attention. So in the course of inner work, we start to see what these drives are, what they're supposed to do, and the ways our personality kind of messes with them, actually.
Mm.
Makes them sometimes a difficulty instead of something that helps. But
Mhm.
vis-a-vis what you're looking at, Krista, is that I find that knowing about the instincts of any couple of people or any group
Mhm.
really,
Yeah.
uh, it's more of an indicator of the success or failure of a relationship than the Enneagram types.
That
That
is
we
so true.
come to relationship to
Mhm.
take care of these basic needs that we have. The instincts are biological needs. We don't
Mm.
get to vote on them. If
Yeah.
you're going to survive
Mhm.
on planet Earth, you have these.
Yep.
So, yeah, so we
Mm.
go to relationships as a way to sort of work things out and find a better way to live with somebody and navigate these needs that everybody has. If we know how to do that better, oh boy, do relationships function better.
That is so well said. And yet, I find it such a lacking part of the discussion. Of course, people often just don't know about it. So I'm thrilled that you have this course for everybody. And I'm just so grateful that we're sharing about it today because if you're starting your year out, friends, and you don't know about this side, as some of my most recent clients had told me who are already Enneagram coaches themselves, and they said, oh, people were going to talk about the instinctual drives, but we just hadn't got to it. So they just lightly touched it. You just heard Russ say, so I want you to really hear that. This is even more important for you as a couple than your type because this is deeper. And a lot of your arguments are not really about the dishes or about the trash or whether you were late. They're about something so much deeper. So I love that you said that. Can you tell everybody what those three instincts are? Because I think a few people still don't know. Some of them do.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Well, the thing to know about instincts is they're how nature operates in us.
Mm-hmm.
They're part of they're in endowment of nature, kind of our animal nature, the animal side of
Mm-hmm.
us.
Yeah.
While we have various forms of consciousness, various possibilities, we can't forget that there are still biological needs that we have that we
Yeah.
share with
Hmm.
other life on the planet. So the first
Mm-hmm.
of these instinctual drives or cluster of drives really
Mm-hmm.
is self-preservation.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Basically that's the drive to stay alive, to
Yeah.
seek health, well-being, safety,
Mm-hmm.
security, and if we get the basics handled, to thrive, to
Mm-hmm.
have a really rich, grounded, satisfying life.
Yeah.
So of course all animals, even bacteria, have that.
Right.
you know it's
Mm-hmm.
it's really basic. However, we humans have particular ways that we go about that, things that animals don't have to worry about.
Mm,
For example, one thing that most humans on the planet have to concern themselves with around self-pres, which like bears or antelope or iguanas don't have to deal with, is money.
yes.
Money, finances, having resources. Now, I think the self-pres for me breaks down in humans to concern with our health and well-being,
Mm-hmm.
um, our home, our safe place
Mm-hmm.
where we go to rest, restore ourselves, be protected,
Mm-hmm.
have some kind of security and stability, our home, but
Yeah.
also resources, how we manage resources, what we do with them. And money is one, time is another,
Mm-hmm.
energy is another. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a basic human need. Some
Mm-hmm.
people, that's their priority.
Yeah.
They're thinking about that. And if they drive that too much, this is what they worry about. This is what they get
Yeah.
neurotic about. This is what they freak out about.
Yeah.
And or you just handle that when you need to. Or
Mhm.
some people, it's just like, what?
Yeah.
What's that about?
So
Else? I
true.
don't know. I'm just lucky.
Yeah.
Home, well, that's where I dump my suitcases.
Yeah.
It's like
Exactly.
resources. I think there's money in the bank. I don't.
Right. Right.
And so some people don't, so everybody's going to be different in their relationship with self-pres. So again, I'm saying, yeah, when we say someone is a
Mm-hmm.
self-pres person, what we
Mm-hmm.
mean is that's their focal point. A
Right.
lot of their time, energy, and attention goes into those kind of matters. And in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship, that's going to be a priority. It's what you're expecting to co-create with your
Mm-hmm.
partner.
Yep.
It's your love offering. You know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, honey, you want stability, steadiness,
Mm-hmm.
loyalty, reliability. You
Yeah.
don't want to have to stay up at night worrying about me.
Yeah.
You found the right person. And so it's, that
Yeah.
what our dominant instinct is what we feel we've got to give to somebody.
Right. Oh my gosh. So well said. And I love how you named that. I did want to ask if adventure would at all be in this, because something I play around with when I see the categories that you've amazingly made is I wonder, does that fit in this or the sexual, or is it's okay, it's theoretical, it fits a little in both?
What's the initial question? I didn't quite catch it.
Oh, no problem. Adventure, because I've not
Oh,
been able to,
adventure.
I've heard people talk about it and say, sometimes they even say it's part of this too, is feeling alive is part of that. But of course, we know we're going to get to that in the sexual instinct. So I didn't know if you'd
Yes.
had thoughts about that.
I think people who are self-pres, depending on their Enneagram type,
Mm-hmm.
have different
Mm,
ways of relating to that. For some people, that idea of
interesting.
thriving is luxury.
Mm,
I want to be comfy. I want to be
mhm.
luxury. Give me
Yeah.
a good thread count on my sheets.
Yeah, like a nine. Yes.
I want to eat
Um,
food that I like. It's going to fill my tummy,
yes.
things like that.
Mm,
And
yeah.
some people, strong as self-pres, like nature,
Yeah.
that
Mm-hmm.
hiking in the mountains or camping or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily for the thrill, but just again, that's something I do that brings me a sense of well-being. So think of
Mm,
sexual as more adventure, stimulation, blowing my mind, thrilling me, versus self-pres. Brings me a sense of well-being. Like, this
mm.
feels good. This feels right. I like this.
Okay.
You can have
Thank
both
you.
from the same experience.
Isn't that true? Right.
Yeah.
And so many of us, like you said, yourself being sexual social. For me, I'm self-pres sexual, so I can feel how they may kind of conflate. So I like how you just named that. And also even I'll name that as people enter relationships, oftentimes they even seem to put on a little bit of a different one because you're in your mate seeking phase. So you may
Yeah.
look a little more sexual, but really you're self-pres, which is what I think happened to me. So
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, that's so
Yeah,
helpful.
and nobody's just one. This is what I keep saying.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
silly.
Yeah.
Everybody has all three instincts. If you didn't
Yes.
have one of them, you'd be in big trouble.
We'd be dead.
So we got
Yes.
all of them, but
Yes.
they're in a
But
certain
there's a
relationship with each
difference.
other,
Yes.
and we
Okay.
have a certain personality relationship with how they function. That's what we want to be aware of.
Okay. Thank you. And I know we're going to talk about sexual as we do that, guys. You may not have heard yourself yet because there's two other instincts. You just named the self-pres. Tell
Mhm.
us about the sexual.
Well, sexual instinct is, as were saying, it's that what comes up in the animal kingdom when it's time to mate.
Mm.
And then the birds are showing their
Yes.
feathers and they're doing dances and animals are
Hmm.
competing, and it's very intense.
Yeah.
A lot of nature shows
Yeah.
wait and take their movies or videos of the animals during that season because other times maybe they're just, lions are just, they're resting, they're just chilling out, they're sitting there
Yeah.
yawning and they're not doing very much. But during
Yeah.
mating season, things happen.
Hmm.
But basically, our nervous systems need a certain degree of activation, of
Hmm.
stimulation. I used to tell if people are high self-pres, low sexual, their danger is excessive comfort.
Mm.
Too much
Yeah.
comfort will sink your health and it will sink your relationship. We take everything for granted.
Hmm.
Sexual brings edge, exploration, new experiences, wanting to try things. Maybe I go to a nice restaurant and I know exactly what I want. I want this for dinner and that, and make sure you grill those sweet potatoes or whatever it is you
Yeah.
like, right? And you know
Hmm.
what that is, and that's
Yeah.
like, I'm eating that yummy food that
Yeah.
I like. But the sexual instinct would say, I've never tried that before. Let's see
Yeah.
what that. Oh my
Right.
God, I've never had sushi. Let's give it a
Hmm.
go. And it's like wanting, stimulating, awakening, thrilling experiences. Now, here's an important thing. Many people in the Enneagram world who haven't really studied the biology of all this conflate intimacy with the sexual instinct. They're two different things.
Mm. Oh my goodness. Tell us
Two
more.
different things.
Yeah.
Sexual instinct is eros, erotic. And
Yeah. Hmm.
that's not just about having sex.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
definitely part of it, but it's not
It's
only that. Some people listen to
attracting.
music
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
getting off on it, or they go to
Yeah.
a show, or we're
Hmm.
seeking that energizing, enlivening activation keeps it's like recharging our battery in a
Mm.
certain way.
Yeah.
But intimacy is the instincts are all related to what are called the lower centers. They're all aspects of the belly center. The belly
Mm.
center is really three parts or three centers, and the
Mm.
intimacy is a heart thing. So
Hmm.
it's a not you can be intimate with people and there's
Yeah.
no attraction, and you can be attracted to
Mm.
people and there's no
That's
intimacy. For
interesting.
example, hopefully you have intimacy with your kids, but hopefully not
Yeah.
sexual energy.
Right. Yeah. Oh
Just
my
and those
goodness.
are so different. But people screw this up partially
Oh yeah.
because we're still pretty neurotic about this
Yeah, we
instinct in
are.
our culture. It's
Right.
very hard for us to have adult conversations about our attractions, our
Hmm.
needs, our sexuality, things
Yeah.
like that. We have to gussy it up and make it sound something different than what it is. But there's
Hmm.
no human being that doesn't have this, and we have to deal with it one way or another. We have ways to engage it, and there are healthy ways to engage
Right.
it, and there
Right.
are not so healthy ways to engage it.
Mm.
I think
Hmm.
um, self-pres dominant people tend to get picky and kind of neurotic about
Oh yeah.
controlling their environment and their resources, and it needs to be
Yeah.
this way, and that can drive
Right.
a partner nuts.
It can.
But
Yes.
sexual instinct dominant is more overtly self-destructive.
Mm.
To get that feeling, we start to like dance on the edge of the cliff a lot, and it's can be not so good. But the good side of it
Yeah.
is, like my love offering here, I'm going to take you. It's like that song from Aladdin, where a whole new
Mm.
world. I'm going to
Yes.
show you the world, darling.
Oh,
I'm going to give you experiences. You're going to have a thrilling ride with me, and I
yeah.
hope you want a thrilling ride and blow my mind too.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
a sexual instinct relationship.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to capture it. And there's so much to it that you just named the attraction piece. I know you talk about the surprise element of shaking things up
Yes.
and also the merging, two becoming one, and how, yes, we
Yes.
need differentiation in other moments, but that there really is emerging physically. But
Yes.
you're just saying if we make this too much about the emotional intimacy, we're missing out on the charge of this, right?
Yeah. It's just a way of making it nice and civilized, but it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the nature, it's nature in us again. And
Right.
just to be a grown up and say, yep, that's part of me. And
Yes.
oh yeah, that's part of me, but I kind of shut that down in 1993,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
We have some relationship with this part of us that's part of
Hmm.
every human being. It has so many, they all have a lot of implications. That's why with instincts, you or I could endlessly describe different ways they show up. But once you actually sense them, feel them, recognize them in what they feel like in your body,
Hmm.
you can see how they show up in all kinds of different behaviors.
Yeah.
Like I was using the idea of having a meal that could be
Mm,
self-pres, could be sexual, could be both.
yeah. That makes so much sense. Your comfort food, self-pres, sexual is more like you said, ooh, I'm gonna try these new foods out. What it doesn't have to be oysters, the traditional sexual instinct. It could be something just like I've never been to this new Asian fusion restaurant. I want to try it out. And
Yeah.
that's you trying something risky in a healthy way. And like you said, there's a healthy way to do this instinct, and then there's unhealthy. And so when people conflate it and say, I like one-to-one conversations. I think you're going to let us know that's not really what this is about.
No.
Thank you.
Almost all human beings prefer a one-to-one conversation to talking with a group. I don't know where these people
Mm.
are going around looking to address a group.
Yeah.
That's a fear that's more than the fear of death for a lot of people.
Right.
So it's just I like one-on-one conversation. There's a certain degree also of narcissism that when
Mm,
people are saying I'm one-on-one and I'm more intimate than other people and I'm deeper than other people,
yeah.
really, did you check with them? How do you know this?
Right.
It's just what are you saying? The Enneagram can become a way of propping up exactly the parts of us we need to see through.
Yeah. Right.
Or it
That's so
becomes
good.
a doorway to coming to a healthier relationship with these
Mm,
instincts, but you have to be
yeah.
honest about what they are.
Oh
And like
my goodness.
looking at relationships,
Hmm.
if you've got a lot of self-pres, but not much sexual, the relationship kind of dies on the
Yes.
vine. We may stay
Yeah.
together, but
Yeah.
the thrill is gone.
Yes. I have a
Quote the
couple
old
like that
song.
right now. And I'm
Yeah,
just,
we're
I
just
guess,
like either
yeah.
we're together because we know each other and we
Yeah.
built a house, we got kids, and there's all this, but there ain't much between us anymore.
Right.
The
Right.
the and so you have to find out, well, what would rekindle that spark? And so you might
Mm,
need to bring in some sexual instinct, which doesn't necessarily only mean having sex, as I keep saying, but it's
yeah.
is how do you keep a little cha-cha-cha? Honey, I
Hmm.
decided to make a little Thai food tonight. Sit down,
Yes.
spicy. And we're going to listen to I said, I tell people when
Mhm.
that situation, change the music you listen to,
So
right?
good.
There's so many ways you can do
Hmm.
it.
Yes.
If it's the other end, the couple dominant sexual can it burns up. They get really
Mm,
passionate involved, and then
yeah.
after the wave of
Mm,
attraction plays itself out
yeah.
and the eros plays itself out, they're sitting looking at each other. Well, it's not
Now
like it
what?
used to be. So now what? So
Yeah.
we might be tempted to leave or go to another relationship.
Hmm.
Sometimes a couple will, if they're some self-pres or social, there's other bases to keep the relationship going, and eventually that wave comes back again. But you can feel like it's time to bail because this has gotten it doesn't light my fire anymore, to
Mm.
paraphrase the Doors, you know?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Oh my goodness. It's really important that couples listen right now about this particular piece that we're on. Of course, my whole outreach is based in the sexual instinct to a point. But as you're
Mhm.
hearing Russ say, it could be that this one has burnt you out. So you have to look at that self-pres. You're going to tell us about the social in a moment, but I'm loving hearing you say, even if this is your issue, you can also find room for growth within it. You just might have to rekindle in a different way, different
Yeah.
playlist. My husband and I have created a funny playlist and recreated it we've been together for 3 decades now, but it's called White Hot Nights. We just made it silly for our friends, but we keep changing it every decade. And some of the songs have to
That's
be
great.
changed out because they're old now. But
Yeah,
tell us
I've been
about
there, done that.
yes. Yeah, you get it. So tell us about the social group and just of course, I even just said that and I'm catching myself. The social instinct which we all need, all have.
Yeah. It helps to start with the notion that the United States is social instinct blind. In other
Mm,
words, it's the least developed.
wow.
And so a lot of people, whether or not they could even be social dominant, we have this thing, well, that's just socializing. Like that's a
Yeah.
terrible thing. Like they're
Mm,
just doing small talk. When you're
mm,
talking that way, you're really
yeah.
not getting what it is whatsoever.
Okay.
And why everybody, yeah, there was years ago there's still a publication called the Enneagram Monthly, and they did a
Mm.
poll. How many of you were self-pres? How many of you are one-on-one intimacy? And how many of you are social group oriented? It's an
Mhm.
easy distinction to remember. It just happens to be wrong.
Yeah.
What they ended up with, 15% said self-pres,
Okay.
5% said social group, and
Wow.
then and 80% were all intimacy one-on-one. Again, it's
Oh
just
my
narcissistic,
gosh. Yeah.
you know,
Wow.
flattery.
Yeah.
It's not the reality of it. And again, the aim is to be in a dance with all of it, to get out of
Mhm.
the ways we
Yeah.
contract or silo. So what is social is about communication.
Mm.
It's about partnering. It's about bonds between people. And it doesn't necessarily always mean a group. It can be a group of two. It
Mm.
can be a family.
Mm.
It can be the bonds that we make that aren't about our attraction and erotic is a lot of life.
Mm.
And you
Mhm.
try to have a long marriage without this one, you're going to have a lot of trouble.
Mm.
Because in the end, a great relationship is also a friendship.
Yeah.
And I hear, a lot of my students I talk with these days are Generation Z, they're younger
Yeah.
and so forth, and they're all recognizing how important friendship is.
Mm.
There was a study done in a scientific study years ago about what supported healthy longevity. And they
Mm.
said, was it diet? Was it exercise? All those things had some impact, but the biggest thing they saw in all those blue zones around the world
Mhm.
are what I think I got the color right.
Yeah.
Yeah, where people live a long time, it was friendship.
Wow.
So if you're looking at relationship, social is how we're connected. Connection is
Mhm.
social.
Mhm.
Merging is sexual. They're two different things.
Okay.
Connection, communication, bonding, and when that is also about commitments and promises
Yeah.
and things like that, it's
Yeah.
kind of social and self-pres together.
Okay. Got
And
you.
so
And yeah.
that
Mhm.
social is a super important part also. But
Mm.
again, it in our wacky culture, it gets dismissed by people often who are social dominant, just
Yeah.
haven't recognized it. I have a lot.
Interesting.
I thought for sure I was sexual dominant at first,
Yeah.
but I that may have been true at certain periods of my life, but clearly now I'm a lot social. Um,
Mm. Yeah.
Social is also about what you participate in, what you
Mhm.
give your time and energy to, how you get the sense of your place in the world. And if people don't have much of that or they don't feel they found it, that's really dangerous. That leads
Mhm.
people to suicide.
Yeah.
It leads to marriages breaking up.
Yeah.
So there's a part of a marriage or a committed partnership where we're allies and we're
Mhm.
supporting each other in pursuing and developing what we're here to do in the world. That's pretty important.
Mm. Mm.
That's social.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's so interesting. And this what I imagine also includes the nonverbal communication in a
Mhm.
family and just
Yeah.
being able to pick up those cues. And you've talked about participation and celebration and boundaries. And it's such a large piece. So when people say I'm not social, they're missing, no, you are, but how are you social, right?
Yeah, exactly. And people are social about something. When people are
Mm.
blind to this, they're looking at it like, well, they're just having small talk or they're talking about the weather. And I always tell people, when people are talking about the weather, they're not talking about the weather. You have to have
Mm.
some social instinct to pick up cues.
Right.
Most of what people say is not what they say.
Mm-hmm.
There's subtext. And when you're stronger in social, you're better at reading people, picking up what are
Mm.
they actually communicating. When you're in your own little echo chamber and judging everybody who to be
Yeah.
too shallow for you,
Yeah.
you're not going to pick up much. So social instinct is based in not wanting to be in a group, but it is the instinct of awareness of other. If you try to be a parent and you don't have
Mm.
this, you're going to have a rough ride.
Yeah, and I'm sure we've all had some of those rough rides.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think that makes sense.
when you
Yeah.
get it in the right way, you see how all three of these are equally,
Mm.
absolutely necessary for a
Hmm.
good life, for a good relationship, for But, we all have deeply ingrained habits toward all of them and a lot of
Mhm.
assumptions and a lot of inner critic stuff. And so a lot of the Enneagram work is to sort of clean up the instincts,
Yes, and
get
that's
some of the
really.
baggage off of them so that they each can develop as they need to. We'll
Mm,
always have a kind of a predilection or a talent for one of them, you might
mhm,
say, but that doesn't
mhm.
mean it's your identity. You
Right.
might be a good basketball player, but basketball is not your identity. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that makes sense. And you might have some wounds around some of them. Like I would
yes.
always have gravitated towards singles tennis, long distance running, skiing, things that
Mhm.
would keep me a little bit more like I'm in a group, but I'm also by myself. And
Yes.
so you're allowing for some of us are going to have one or a different tendency, but some of that is our own egos getting in the way of like, okay, I'm just not going to do the work of expanding myself for whatever reason. Some of it
Yes.
is from our past stories that we're brought up with of this one's not safe, like I was taught sometimes. But I think when we marry, and I don't know if you agree with this, I've seen about 80% of the people on my much smaller research studies seem to be marrying people of an opposite lead instinct. Do you find that to be pretty common?
I think yes, because we're looking for people to fill the gaps in our own life.
Hmm.
Uh, Sometimes I've seen couples where the dominant is the same,
Yes, me
but
too.
if that is the case, they need to be extra aware of what drops out of their relationship.
Hmm. Yes.
If you got two self-prezzies
Hmm.
together, hopefully they're paying attention to the sexual or social, or they're going to just, develop cobwebs. That's not going to
Hmm.
be good. Two
Hmm.
sexuals together, it's going to combust. Two
Yeah.
socials together, and they're busy doing all kind of stuff, but they start to lose each other. So all of them have potential pitfalls, and if they're different, you have to remember. Don Risa used to say, uh, translation, not conversion. In other
Hmm.
words,
Interesting.
if we're not particularly self-aware, we're always trying to convert our partner over to our way of seeing things,
Yeah.
our priorities, our values. So let's say I'm self-pres and I'm married to a socialite. Why can't you stay home more often, honey? Why do you have to go out and talk to people?
Yeah.
And that's not going to be really good for the
Right.
relationship. That's trying to convert the other person.
Hmm.
Whereas
Hmm.
translation is you recognizing, my partner is holding a piece that I'm not seeing, and
Hmm.
maybe between the two of us, we'll create a life that works for both of us and will expand us both.
Oh my
And
gosh,
when
that's
we're
so awesome.
committed to staying the same, that it's going to push against that.
Right. It's going to do the exact opposite as I was discussing with a couple this morning. It takes a lot of emotional cognitive load to come at our partner with what you're describing as this conversion. And
Yeah.
to translate to say, in terms of this, like my husband, for instance, is a social instinct. I said to him the other day, Wes, I know you want to run this race on Thursday. I happen to be going to this woman's ornament thing, but
Uh-huh.
with my son's theater thing. But I was like, I think that you being a social, that makes you feel healthier in the other instincts. You get your self-pres with your running. You get the charge of this race, even though you're growing older and maybe you don't work the same as you used to. And he goes, yes. And that helped me to hear that. And I really liked, going, okay, this is me translating for myself out loud. This is my husband's process, and it actually
Yeah.
helps all three. Is that what you find when we do release ourselves?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And sometimes you can also isolate if both of you are missing one, that
Mm-hmm.
should be something you consciously devote some time and energy to. If
Mm.
both people are
Mm-hmm.
missing self-pres, somebody's got to look at the checkbook and
Yeah.
somebody's got to
Yeah.
make sure we're getting a balance of rest and exercise, some kind of regularity. If
Mm.
both of us are missing sexual, we got to get off our duffs and have some adventures. We got to do
Yes.
something different. We have to
Yes.
spice it up.
Yes.
And if
Mm-hmm.
we are both low in social, return phone calls.
Yeah.
Get out of the house. For
Yeah.
example, I've seen sometimes when both couples are low social,
Mm-hmm.
they get so overly devoted to each other that they let all their other relationships wither.
It's
And
not
then if
good.
one of them leaves or passes,
Oh,
God
yeah.
forbid, the person left has nobody.
Mm.
That's
That's
not good.
true.
So
Yeah.
that, all of these are tips for living a happier, richer, more fulfilling life if we're using the material in the right way.
I love that.
Social, the other day I was saying about social is always about something like I'm a five,
Yeah.
dominant five. You go to any five and say, how do you feel about being social? They'll all say, no, I don't want to be. Because it instantly conjures like being dragged
Mm,
to church by your
right.
mom or something, or
Right.
being trapped at a cocktail party where you judge that
Right.
people are talking about nonsense. But none of those are really social. Is also the discrimination of what you want to get involved with, who you want to get involved with. Saying no is part of it. But if you're
Mm,
saying no all the time, then you're missing something. So like if I was talking with a five, I said, would you be interested in you're into astrophysics. If there was a meeting of astronomers and they were talking about the latest findings of black holes and what they're discovering about the physics of black holes, you wouldn't want to be part of that conversation? Oh, yeah. Well, honey, that's social.
it's
It's
awesome.
not sexual and it's not self-pres.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I know some fives are just gasping with relief. I'm social too, as you say
Yeah,
that.
it can be.
Thank
We all
you.
do, and we all do social in our own way. It
Thank
doesn't
you.
mean you're doing it like somebody else, and we
Mm,
each have a way to it. And you know, I think sexual satisfies certain primal needs, energy needs, certain emotional needs, but so does social. If you don't
mm,
have much going on social, you tend to feel isolated and lonely, even if
mhm.
you have a dominant relationship.
Yeah, it's so
Who's my
true.
friend? Who's with me? Hmm.
Yeah.
And then, each one of them becomes super important. Me being low in self-pres, I'm really valuing these days people who can help remind me and help me with my self-pres,
Mm,
and
mhm.
then we're all lifted together. It
Yeah.
just works a lot better.
Yeah,
Um,
it's so true just to have people in your life who balance you. And I
mhm.
think that's why I like self-pres too, and I've moved into this instinct more, is because
Yeah.
I actually think I'm so social being a very busy mother and
Mhm.
also worker that I've just needed it. So I'm
Yes.
almost naming I'm self-pres because social seven took me down so much. So now
Yeah.
I'm like the five needs the social. I almost needed to find that like yourself. So I think it's neat that you can even remind people you're going to need all three and they may look different across different seasons of life, right?
That's right. That's right. What I've shared this anecdote, but people say, well, you're more sexual when you're younger, but when you get older, you less so. I said, not if you're
Not
dominant in that.
necessarily.
No, I
Yeah.
was one time in Mexico City
Hmm.
teaching down there, and I was with a dear friend of mine, and she brought me to Teotihuacan, which is the great ancient site
Hmm.
from long before the Aztecs. Is a really where they have these big pyramids, the Pyramid of the Sun, Pyramid of the Moon.
Wow.
And we got there, and we were without going into the complexities of this whole visit. We decided we are going to go up the Pyramid of the Sun. It's quite a climb, and
Wow.
you're in high altitudes, like higher than Denver, as
Oh my
you're up high
goodness.
in the mountains, and the air is not the best coming out of
Oh my
Mexico
goodness.
City.
Yeah.
So it's like you really got to be careful and work with your breathing and go up these really big steep stairs to the top of the pyramid. It's not exactly self-pres, and it's not exactly, well, it could be social, but that's not why you do it.
Hmm.
We're going up there, and there was this German lady with white hair.
Hmm.
She was 75 if she was a day, and
Oh my.
probably, I don't know how she could have been in her 80s.
Yeah.
She was just grinning ear to ear, smiling, making her way up that pyramid with her nurse holding her hand
Oh,
and her oxygen bottle as she
oh
ascended.
my gosh.
Okay, what was that?
Oh
Some
my
people say
goodness.
crazy, but I don't think so. That woman felt alive in
Mm,
that moment. I
yes.
think she'd say, if I drop dead right now, it's okay. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
That's beautiful. That's living. Oh my
Right,
goodness. That's a
right.
great example of somebody being actually all three of the instincts, so
Yeah.
social to say, I can
Just
do this with support and etc. Like, wow.
she was connected with her nurse. She was saying hi to us, and
Mm,
she was taking care of herself with her nurse and with her oxygen, even though she was doing something that was an adventure. Great
yeah.
example.
Oh my goodness. I love that. And I think everyone here, as they're thinking about their goals, you want to have adventure. And like I know Russ said so well, you and your spouse may want to have different kinds of adventures, but sometimes we can lean into each other's with that 1% better formula. Sometimes when we just allow ourselves some presence, we can come back to, as we were talking before we got on, some healthy body work that will help us to land with less anxiety around the instincts that we're blind in. I know you have an awesome book about your Enneagram type with presence, but with the instincts as we land today, will your course help people to find that presence? Do you have a quick tip for them if they're like, how can I become more present with my instincts?
Right. The instincts actually help you be more present if you're paying attention to them because all the
Okay.
instincts are the body communicating to us with sensation.
Mm,
Like if you're
okay.
hungry, you don't have to think
Mhm.
about it.
Yeah.
You can feel, oh, hunger. Your
Yeah.
body gives you a very clear signal. That's a
Mhm.
self-pres signal. If you're cold, too hot, whatever, you're tired, your body gives you immediate sensory, felt sense feedback. If there's
Mhm.
danger, you can feel it, right? And the more
Mhm.
you're present, you're tuned into the body. You can't really be present without the body, and that instinct will come through clearer and clearer. So listening to the instinct helps you get present in your body. Sexual is kind of
Mhm.
tingly,
Mhm.
excited. It's kind of like
Yeah.
electricity running through you, and
Yeah.
ooh,
Yeah.
and what thrills you, what excites you. You know that German lady going up the pyramid was feeling that,
Yes.
right?
Oh my
She was
gosh. Yep.
thrilled, excited, you know, and yeah, sexual isn't necessarily comfortable, but it's thrilling. And so when those two are working together, you got something really good.
Mm,
And then social is really the sense of feeling more interconnected with the
mm,
environment, with the people you're with your pet, you
mhm,
just feel that flow of interconnectivity, or you feel like
mm.
you're, you know, the
Yeah.
flower is closed for the night,
Yeah.
but you
Oh
can
yeah.
feel where the flower opens to the world.
Yeah, I hit that about 9 p.m. I'm just like, okay, we're just watching
I'm
shows at this
done.
point. I'm watching Seinfeld with you guys if you want to hang out with me. I'm otherwise done talking about activities. But you're helping me to realize a lot of people use the metaphor, even on social media, of course, where it's a bit lighter. I hear, and I've used it myself, warm, hot, cool, warm self-pres, hot sexual, cool. You're making me think more of the word flow when I think of
Yeah.
social, not cool. Is
Yeah,
that more of a
I've
fit?
heard that distinction and I don't
Okay.
agree with it from
Yeah,
the
I'm
point of
starting to
view,
see why. Yeah.
social is friendly.
Yeah.
Cool social is often low social.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're
Yes.
social, you're the first one to say, hi, how are you? Where are you
Yeah.
from? You're
Yeah.
curious about people. You're open to people. There's a friendliness,
Yeah.
regardless of Enneagram type. I have a lot of social development in my fiveness, and people say, are you sure you're a five? You're very friendly with people. Well,
Yeah.
darling, I've been working on this stuff for 30, 40 years. I hopefully have learned something, but I have, liberated my social instinct to some degree.
Right.
And
Right.
I just don't find this thing of socials being social three, cold, social two, cold, social
Mm.
seven, cold. I don't see that. I
Yeah.
see I understand what people are talking about, but I
Yeah.
don't see that as a reliable distinction.
Yeah.
Is sexual kind of hot? Well, yeah, in a certain
Right.
way, but
Mm-hmm.
sexual can be cold too.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
If you've
Yeah, you're
hurt my
right.
feelings and I'm not going to be attracted to you anymore, oh boy, can I be cold.
Right. And in the game of hide and seek, pursue or
Yeah,
distancer that we need to play sometimes to so we're not suffocating each other in the sexual instinct. So
yeah.
you're
With
helping
the
me to see
ins
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. With the instincts, there's a lot of simple distinctions that people have offered or learned, and they're kind of sort of true and kind of sort of not true. And
Mm.
so we have to be careful about them, especially if we're trying to stick everybody in one of these bins, which is not the point of the whole thing. It's for learning how to dance with all of it.
Mm.
All of them are in you, etc.,
Mm.
etc.
Yeah.
I just say also that although the distinctions of the instinct, once you get the hang of it, are pretty easy to recognize. You've known and recognized it your whole life without having words for it. But it's an area where we, in and of ourselves, have a lot of self deception. I just
Mm.
there's a lot of people who mistype themselves in terms of the Enneagram types. There you got nine to pick. But you think with only three, people are very defended against
Mhm.
seeing the vulnerability, rawness, realness of these needs. And
Mm.
so we developed some elaborate stories. I had a guy years ago who was saying, well, I'm a sexual. I know that. I'm a one-on-one intimacy. I started off very poor and I worked. I knew I wanted a princess, so I worked really hard and I applied myself and I built up a business and then I expanded the business and then I built a marvelous home and I waited and now I'm 52 years old and I met my princess and I brought her in and gosh, I'm glad I'm a sexual. Honey, you are a self-pres
Right.
who had probably sexual blind spot because you just completely, what are you offering to your
Right.
princess? Self-pres. What did you
Right.
do your whole life?
Well, yeah,
Self-pres.
you totally abstained from a really important part of life you could have been allowing
You
in.
didn't, we're not having wild adventures or checking things out or, that
Right.
wasn't what you did. But I
Mm.
said, you're in a certain way, your life is a temple and a
Mm.
testament to your dominant instinct.
Mm.
And is it, well, people start playing games. Well,
No.
that exception, one time in 1989, I was in Venezuela, and well, no, darling, don't hide in the exceptions. The
Yeah.
other thing I always tell
Yeah.
people, you might not see it, but anyone who knows you and loves you could tell you in a few seconds if you give them the distinctions. We're not
Mm.
fooling anyone.
Right.
People know what
Right.
we're
Your
up to.
closest people will help you if you're struggling out there.
Yes.
No,
Oh,
you're
honey, how
not
could
that
you
one.
think that, And,
Yeah, thank
if we're
you.
not defended, it's useful
Yeah.
data. And then we can make our
Yeah.
own decision, of course. In the
Right.
end, it has to be something we can work with.
Yes, and that is when I think of the cool on any of these instincts, I think of how future forward AI could make us cool if we stop
Hmm.
interacting with others. Is there any way you see AI as helping or hurting with the instincts?
What I'd say about AI with the instinct, same thing I would say about the AI in the Enneagram in general.
Yeah.
If you take the Enneagram as just a collection of descriptions, all AI is going to do, it's going to scan the internet in a few seconds and net whatever it finds
Hmm.
about that. You're probably going to get some paraphrase of me and my colleagues
Yep.
and some other people who've done podcasts or what have you. It's going to take that all in. And AI currently is programmed to give you the answers you want so that you will
Mm.
be wanting to use it again. It
Hmm.
doesn't necessarily tell you what you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
yeah, so on the level of information, it's fine. But what AI can't do is what you and I were talking about, Krista. It
Yeah.
can't come in and have me sense and see what's happening in me energetically. It
Yeah.
can't bring me the felt sense. It can't bring me the practice
Mm.
of the live in the moment interaction with my partner.
Yeah.
So, it can give you some information and maybe save a little time and research and so forth.
Yeah.
I just say whatever you learn from AI, take it with a grain of salt. It's
Mm.
not an oracle of God.
Right.
It's built
Right.
by
Yeah.
vulnerable humans drawing on
Hmm.
vulnerable human information,
Yeah.
and it can be useful on that. But just like I'd say, don't stop the Enneagram with cutesy descriptions of the nine
Yeah.
types.
Yeah.
It's there to help you see the depth of yourself and experience it
Mm.
in a different
Yeah.
way and to experience your relationship from a new way. Then you're
Mm.
getting something. And AI, at this stage anyway,
Yeah.
it cannot deliver you to that point. That's what I would say.
Right. Oh, that's so helpful because people are, of course, doing that emotional bypass. And I really appreciate you naming there's some beautiful things we can get information from the internet, from AI,
Yeah.
but you cannot bypass for your work. And honestly, that's what I love about your book, The Nine Gateways to Presence. That is in the show notes as well. But you go through awesome practices for each of us there. Thank you so much for that, by the way.
You're very welcome. I just think the Enneagram without practice doesn't do much.
Yep.
It's interesting, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
To a lot of people, was it to
Yeah.
me too, but it's like I said, it's a map, but
Yeah.
then you have to sort of explore what the map is showing you.
Yeah.
I can. I can look at a map of Paris and look at pictures of it, but it isn't the same as me getting in a plane and flying to
Mm.
Paris and
Yeah.
exploring it, you know. That's
Yeah.
the practice part.
That's so true because I did that this past summer and it was very different. I was like, I've seen the Eiffel Tower. I've seen it. I've seen it at Disney. I've seen it at Epcot. I've seen it other
Oh yeah.
places.
They've got one in
No.
Las Vegas. Yeah.
Correct. And so I love that you're naming that. I also love that you're spending time with us. And then also your course is coming up. We have a special code for our listeners in the show notes. But can you tell us about the Instincts and Inner Work course? Because I know you're bringing people to depths there. And I love that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be doing this online for a number of months, and we'll be having 3-hour meetings on weekends generally.
Mm,
And we're going to be doing practice to ground what we're learning, but we're
mhm,
also going to break it down into very discernible behaviors that we can see. Like if I'm self-pres, there's certain behaviors that I'm going to engage in, and we're going to go through all of it. We're going to give everybody a little kind of a sheet with boxes in it, and everybody's going to end at the end have a map of
mm,
where they have developed their instincts, what areas still need some love and attention,
oh,
what maybe we're overdoing. And you
mhm,
can look at that map and it starts to be a guide toward working with coaches or shifting behaviors or doing things to move toward a more balanced and helpful life and or relationship. You know, it could be very interesting if you're in a partnership and do that with your partner and both look at each
mhm,
other's map. You know, it can be good. The map will also help you see at the end of it that our preferences about all this stuff aren't objective. They were created by early experiences
mhm,
and created by our need to get certain fundamental needs from our caregivers.
mm.
So, you know, this is um this stuff feels objective, you
Yeah,
know, it feels non-negotiable. What do you
right.
mean less self-pres? Are you kidding?
Right.
But it doesn't mean that. And
Right.
and giving a little more attention to something else that's been neglected is actually going to help my self-pres or help my
Mhm,
social or what have you. So, you know, this is we're going to take our time. We're really going to dive into it. And I want everybody at the end to really have a clear sense of some inner work practices for themselves to open up the intelligence of the instincts. The last thing
mm.
I'll say is the instincts at first are serving our neurotic ego stuff.
Yeah.
If we do a little self-awareness and work, they start to serve our real actual physical life. Like you could
Mm.
be self-pres and
Yeah.
overeating
Yeah.
doesn't serve your life, but it serves your
Right.
comfort and
Mhm.
need your help addressing certain emotional needs, not your physical needs,
Yeah.
as an example.
Yeah.
Uh, then it goes to actually supporting your real physical life. And then it starts to put it in kind of spiritual terms. It starts to be in service to your soul.
Mm.
What helps you mature psychologically, spiritually, have a life of beauty and elegance and service, you know? And so the instincts become about that if we're doing our work.
Ooh,
And
that
then
is
your
good.
relationship is also a temple in which you're serving each other's souls and the development of what you're here on earth to do.
Hmm. Isn't that beautiful? And we can do more together, as you saw from that research with all the blue zones. And I'm
Yeah.
just so grateful you're sharing this life-giving work with us today in the book, in the course. Russ, thank you so much for being here today. This has been so meaningful.
Thank you, Krista. It was a blast chit-chatting with you and sharing this super interesting part of the Enneagram. Yeah.
Yes,
Thanks
thank
so much.
you. Of course. Wow, I hope you have such a wealth of information that you can now allow yourself to digest. I hope this is an episode you'll take in more than once, and I also hope you'll make sure to take advantage of the Marriage 100 code in the show notes so that you can become part of Russ's cohort and learn alongside of him, as he said, and also allow yourself that gift of his newer book and just getting to know his work better. It is so many little corners and nitty gritty truths that you're going to be going aha with, that we just scratched the surface today. So I just have loved learning from him, and it has been such a gift to my clients. So I'm grateful. We're all grateful. I hope you have a good start to your new year. We have already been so busy in ours, but I'm just loving my corners for writing too. So keep balancing with me, friend. Keep being courageous. That was something Russ said to me after the interview. So I'm going to keep doing my work across season 8 with you. I'm so grateful we're here together. Make sure you check out those show notes, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you again for listening with us. It was so wonderful to have you. I love knowing we're doing this journey together, not perfectly, but with love, grace, and hopefully some fun too. If you loved today's episode, make sure you leave us a 5-star review at Apple Podcast or Spotify so others can find it too. Visit our show notes so you can get all the links from today's show, as well as enneagramandmarriage.com, the Instagram, the Facebook, and all over the place. Make sure you spread the word. Love living intentionally with you. Bye-bye.